Throughout Overwatch and video games more broadly, it is consistent that some characters are more popular than others. Why is this so? Is it something to do with hero fantasy? Whether the cooldowns are fun or not? How about if the character takes skill or not? All three? Well, I think it's possible to not only figure this out, but even to make a formula to create popular characters. Hey guys, welcome back to another Overwatch video, and today we'll be talking about what makes characters popular, and if we can possibly make a formula to create popular characters. Make sure to like, subscribe, check out my Twitch in the bio, and let's just get right into it. So first I think we should define what the popular characters are. Doing this allows us to answer the questions I asked in the beginning of this video better, as this allows us to look through them and find out common themes among those characters, whatever they may be. The main three ways to define popularity is pick rate, skin rate, and community perception. Pick rate is literally defined as how often a character is picked, so I think it has a pretty large link to popularity, as if a character is popular, they will be picked. Pick rate is not everything though, as often a very unpopular and disliked character will have a pick rate that doesn't reflect that. That is where community perception comes into play. I'm defining community perception as how often a character is mentioned in the media, whether it be popular streamers, Instagram, YouTube, or otherwise, and whether that media attention is negative or positive. Unfortunately, I don't think there is a way to show this directly, unlike pick rate and skin rate, but if you go on Overwatch social media and also look for the takes of the popular streamers, I'm sure they will align similarly with how I present them in this video. But where does skin rate play into this? Well, simply put, Blizzard is a company and companies love money, so it's natural to give the most popular characters skins as they have the highest player base to purchase those skins. However, skin rate could also be simply due to the fact that the character is easy to make skins for. That is why I believe it should be a mix between the three. Also keep in note that the pick rate stats are not super up to date, as it's not right now, it's before Season 14. But I don't think the game hero pick wise has changed massively since then, except for Hazard, but Season 14 being his debut season could skew the numbers a bit, so maybe it's for the best. So let's go roll by roll to see who the top dogs are. In Tank, the top 5 heroes are Reinhardt, D.Va, Zarya, Roadhog, and Winston. For now I'm going to talk about the anomalies to explain why they might be in here. I think the most out of place tanks here are Zarya and Roadhog. Zarya is a really talked about character in the community, as she is really meta and doesn't have as much dedicated fans as some other characters, but also doesn't have as much dedicated haters either. She is also well known for having one of the worst sets of skins out of the whole roster, so it's not like Blizzard follows this trend either. I expected her to be more in the middle or slightly unpopular. I think this high pick rate is mainly due to the fact of lack of competition. If we look to most of the characters below the top 5, they have an uninteresting gameplay loop to most, like Mauga, Orisa, and Ramattra. Or they have a high skill floor, such as JQ, Ball, and Doom. She mechanically isn't much of a challenge, and she is more skillful than some other ground tanks, so I think this is why she might be in the top 5. Roadhog, however, is clearly an outlier. If you go to any stream or show Overwatch social media, if Roadhog is mentioned, it's almost always negative. The reason I think his playtime is so high is him basically being a DPS. This allows him to function as a reason a DPS player might want to play tank for a game or two. He also has a very high risk-reward play style with his hook, which is mechanically appealing to the more general audience of DPS players. This theory corresponds to the data, as once you get to competitive only in higher ranks, Roadhog's pick rate drops substantially. Roadhog, I would say, gets a decent amount of skins though, so I think him having somewhat of a silent majority of players is possible. However, it's hard to call a hero unpopular when literally everyone hates them. So let's throw out the anomaly that is Roadhog. Next role is damage. Top 5 here are Cass, Genji, Widow, Soldier, and Ashe. Not too surprising here, as this is a hero shooter, so it makes sense that it's all hit scan, except for unsurprisingly, Genji. Lastly we got support. Support's top 5 are Ana, Mercy, Kiriko, Moira, and Zenyatta. Most heroes here are expected, except for possibly Zenyatta and Moira. But again, similarly to Tank, most support-only players probably play Mercy, Moira, and others, while hybrid DPS/support players probably play a little more of Zenyatta and Ana. Well, why might Moira even be on here? There are a decent amount of outspoken one-tricks of Moira, however I would say the overall community perception on her is very mixed. But it's no denying that while she may be unpopular to a wider audience, she has a dedicated fan base among support players. Besides pick rate and the one tricks, I also say this because of skins, as her skin rate is very solid, as she is a mythic alongside 3 new skins over this Season 15 and Season 14. So the top 5 heroes of each role collectively are Reinhardt, D.Va, Zarya, Winston, Cassidy, Genji, Widow, Soldier, Ashe, and Ana, Mercy, Kiriko, Moira, and Zenyatta. Now what are the connections among these heroes? Well, a lot actually, as they share much in common. I think each hero has one or usually more of these things: an extreme level of skill expression, whether low or high mobility, and a well-developed hero fantasy, meaning they have fleshed out lore, and the character archetype is generally popular in media. Let's start with an extreme level of skill expression. Easy to pick up characters are naturally going to be more popular in the non-DPS roles, as that is part of the reason those players don't play DPS in the first place. Most people don't aim train or sense tune 24/7, which is understandable, but it leads to mechanically easy characters being more popular. Those being Reinhardt, Winston, D.Va, Zarya, Mercy, and Moira. Soldier I also think can be added to this list, as he is the inverse. Essentially all his abilities are very simple and easy to understand, so if you can aim, then everything else should come into place. Why do you think someone like Metro used to get GM consistently? On the opposite end of the extreme, we have characters who have high skill expression, involving aim, positioning, and resource management based requirements. This is the other side of the player base who enjoys the challenge and likes to feel more involved and visual in their gameplay. These characters include Winston, Widow, Genji, Ana, Kiriko, Zenyatta, and to a lesser extent, Cassidy. I'm including Winston here because after you get past the basics, this kit does become much more mechanically and positionally demanding, as landing juggles with Primal and having consistent bubble usage is not easy. All of these characters have high-powered abilities or kill potential, giving you the sense of reward after it pays off for you. I would say a middle-of-the-road character that doesn't belong in either two is Illari. Her weapon is hit scan and slow shooting, while also not having a backup kit that expands it beyond pylon placement. She's closer to the Soldier 76 archetype, but doesn't fit perfectly, as she's not a DPS, meaning you're required to heal your team, and her healing is just a beam, not fully leaning into a mechanically demanding side. At the same time, her gun is a bit strange, as it's single fire like Ashe and Widow, but without a scope like Soldier. She's just in an awkward state that doesn't fully fit into either camp, which is part of why she has one of the lowest pick rates. Next we have mobility. Most of the characters here have solid or really high mobility. These characters are Winston, D.Va, Genji, Soldier, Mercy, Moira, Kiriko, and to an extent, Reinhardt. Mobility I think to be important because simply put, it's more fun for most people. Having more dynamic movement creates more openings for visually interesting plays, and also having more chances to take space and play aggressive. As compared to a character without mobility, you have to take much more measured, space-taking approach, because if you mess up your positioning, you are more easily punished, and it's also harder for you to play aggressive than frontline more and be more visually involved in the fight. Not to mention that a full walk back from spawn without movement abilities is never fun. This is provable too, as the devs have stated themselves that they agree with this and they want to make more dynamic and mobile characters. Venture, Juno, and Hazard all have high-speed kits, and looking at Freyja's abilities, she's also no slouch in the mobility department. Lastly, we have a strong hero fantasy. Out of the group, I would say Reinhardt, D.Va, Winston, Ashe, Cassidy, Genji, Soldier, Ana, Mercy, Kiriko, and Zenyatta have this trait. Almost all of these characters have cinematics or are heavily involved in a cinematic, except for Ana, Mercy, and Zenyatta. Those 3 who don't also have very fleshed out characters, as they have many voice line lore dialogues, but also comics fleshing out their personalities and characters heavily. From my experience, cinematics have a heavy role in starting someone from playing a character, as the mains of these characters usually got their start from watching their cinematics. Keep in mind, the Genji cinematic is still the most viewed video on the Overwatch YouTube. Now let's turn to the other aspect of hero fantasy, being their innate coolness factor. This applies to all, but I would like to look at Reinhardt, Genji, and Zenyatta specifically. Knights have been popular in media since birth, and Reinhardt is no exception. Alongside him having that popular archetype, he is the definition of traditional masculinity. He is tall, strong, loud, talks about ideals like honor and glory, while also standing by his convictions like he did after the cinematic. Whether you like it or not, masculine men create popular media, and Reinhardt, being that almost perfectly, is no different. Moving on to Genji, samurai ninjas have been popular in the West since post-World War II, and the rise in anime has increased that popularity to the max. People love Japan, and he's the perfect ninja, but even being one step further, as he shows off Overwatch's futuristic timeline by being a cyborg ninja. Why people find samurai in Japan specifically is perhaps a video for another time, but for now it's the truth. Genji's voice lines also demonstrate this, as he's not overly goofy and has just the right amount of locked in, even having many Japanese voice lines, which adds to the immersion of the player. Zenyatta being an Omnic was going to be harder to make into this frame, but they did. Eastern ideas, as mentioned a little earlier, have been influencing the West more and more, which does not exclude Buddhism. He leans into that Eastern religious side, which really gives him a unique identity, as in Western media, Buddhism may be more popular than ever, but there wasn't too many Western characters that showed this, so he brings a new Western take on the Buddhist monk idea that was new and innovating, giving him and the game its own identity. Alongside this, him not being a straight pacifist and actually dealing high damage, which on the surface is surprising to most, giving an even more layered part of his character. That, on top of his unique personality, gives you a popular character you won't find in any other games. So now we have all the tools to make a popular character, being a skill level extreme, whether low or high mobility, and fleshed out lore alongside an appealing character archetype. So I believe the formula is a pyramid that goes like this. First, at the bottom layer, is the skill level extreme, which is the most important. Then hero fantasy in the middle, then lastly mobility at the top, being the least out of the three. A final note on this video is that I think Overwatch has figured this out already. Looking at Freyja, she hits all the marks of the formula, being extremely skillful, a former member of Overwatch who seemingly had issues with the organization, and also having pretty solid mobility. So lucky for us, we will be enjoying some cool characters soon, as Aqua I expect to hit the markers as well. Thanks for watching this far, hope you enjoyed. My name is Excel, make sure to like, subscribe, check out my Twitch, and have a great day.